Meet Bong Joo-hak, a 25-year-old whose life highlights include juggling 3 part-time jobs and living in a rooftop shack. After another glamorous day of work, he returns home to his usual gourmet dinner. Instant noodles, the official sponsor of his crippling debt. He reflects on his impressive skill set of, well, nothing, and accepts his mediocre existence. But right as he's hitting peak self-pity, a massive blue window pops up out of nowhere. The system declares that he has awakened. Utterly floored, Joo-hak can only stare, wondering if this is some kind of joke. For most, awakening is a golden ticket, a chance to get rich and famous. But there's a tiny catch: you have to survive monster-infested death towers first. This is a problem for Joo-hak, a guy whose main skill is avoiding anything remotely dangerous. Convinced he just dreamt the whole thing, he half-heartedly calls for his status window. To his shock, it actually appears. The system reveals he's a summoner, and not just any summoner. His trait is already maxed out. Suddenly, his odds of not becoming monster food are looking better. Joo-hak's mind races with images of epic golems and magical beasts. With his heart pounding, he decides to try out a cool skill for the first time. He awkwardly waves his hands and calls out for a random summon. Then immediately cringes, realizing skills aren't supposed to work outside the towers. But before he can fully process his mistake, his tiny apartment erupts in a flash of purple energy. A pillar of golden light reveals a man, who strikes a pose and proudly confirms he is, in fact, a person. Joo-hak's brain short-circuits. He didn't summon a cool golem, he summoned a random guy who immediately locks onto his dinner. The mysterious man asks for a bite, and Joo-hak, too stunned to refuse, just agrees. His epic summon takes one slurp of the mild Adon and starts complaining about the heat. Great, his first companion is a total lightweight. Needing some serious answers, Joo-hak pulls up his status window. It reveals he can summon humans with gacha-style ranks, and they're hardwired with 3 rules: protect, obey, and always prioritize his life. A system window appears, giving Joo-hak the rundown on his new employee. His name is John Cossack, a super rare assassin known as the Mad Assassin of the Cruel Guild. Despite being the guild's black sheep, he had a 99% success rate. Before Joo-hak can even process that, his consciousness is yanked into a violent memory. He sees Cossack in his element, dispatching foes with ease. The mad part becomes crystal clear when he watches Cossack cheerfully tie a festive bow on a man's head, treating it like a birthday present. The system continues the info dump, revealing Cossack's final and very failed mission. His target, just the Empire's strongest sword master. One swift counter from the master, and the assassin's impressive career was permanently over. The memory is so intense that Joo-hak is jolted back to reality, tumbling out of his chair in shock. Remembering the absolute obedience rule, he cautiously tests his new authority. He orders the legendary killer to put away the ramen pot. To his utter disbelief, the mad assassin does it with terrifying, sparkly enthusiasm, even wiping the table. The reality of his new power sinks in for Joo-hak. He really can make this guy do anything. Getting a bit bold, he decides to test the limits with a ridiculous command: speak and act like a dog. A second later, he's filled with regret, convinced he just provoked a sleeping tiger. But instead of a violent outburst, Cossack happily gets on all fours like a cheerful puppy. Just as Joo-hak's brain is about to short-circuit, violent pounding shakes his front door. He instantly panics. It's the private lenders he borrowed money from. With loan sharks at the door, Joo-hak remembers why he took the money in the first place: for his father's surgery and his siblings' tuition. He knows it was a dumb move, but for his family, he'd do it again. Meanwhile, Cossack offers a very simple, very permanent solution to the noisy visitor. Not wanting a crime scene in his tiny apartment, Joo-hak shoves the assassin into the bathroom. The loan shark then suggests Joo-hak could sell his organs if money gets tight. That crosses a line, and our MC's fear is replaced by pure, cold rage. With the loan shark gone, Joo-hak's tough guy facade instantly crumbles. The exhaustion from his terrible day part-time jobs, a surprise awakening, and a visit from debt collectors finally hits. Cossack, ever the helpful assassin, asks for his next orders, even offering to be dismissed. But our hero is too wiped to play master and just wants to watch some TV. For a brief moment, having the company feels nice. Then poof, Cossack vanishes mid-thought. A system alert reminds Joo-hak of the fine print: his new bodyguard is only on a 6-hour contract. The next morning, Joo-hak wakes up, dismissing the system message about Cossack as part of a weird dream. As he prepares for another lovely day of part-time hell, a breaking news report catches his ear. It's about a gruesome incident at an illegal loan agency called Smile Cash. The name sounds horribly familiar. The reporter describes the shocking scene, noting that the victims' heads were found, decorated with red ribbons. The horrifying realization hits him. That wasn't a comforting bodyguard he summoned, it was a gleefully unhinged psychopath with a weird crafting hobby. The news report is even worse than Joo-hak imagined. The scene at Smile Cash is a total mess, and the loan sharks have been permanently dealt with. The reporter highlights the most disturbing detail. The victims were left with creative red ribbon decorations. Staring at his phone, our hero descends into a full-blown panic. This was definitely Cossack's handiwork, and now he's an accomplice. As if on cue, a customer in a red coat approaches the counter. It's Cossack, calmly asking him to ring up an item, completely unfazed by the chaos he created. Juhok's mind helpfully supplies a horrifying vision of what happened. He imagines his psychopathic bodyguard arranging the loan sharks, heads into a charming Valentine's Day display, complete with festive red ribbons. The sight sends our hero stumbling backward with a scream that could curdle milk. When he opens his eyes, the nightmare is gone. A completely normal customer is standing there, asking if he's okay before handing him a box of chocolates. Later, Juhok walks alone in the snow, wondering if her kindness was just pity for his new life as a murderer's accomplice. Back in his tiny apartment, a system window pops up, asking Juhok to rate his new summon. Cossack's official title is The Mad Assassin of the Cruel Guild, which is not reassuring at all. Juhok is furious. He'd asked the guy to watch TV, not commit a freelance interior design massacre. He prepares to slam the 1-star button, wondering what kind of mess he's gotten into. But then, he hesitates. He just can't be that heartless. His mom works a tough service job, and he knows how much a bad review can sting. So, despite the creative redecorating, Juhok can't bring himself to give the lowest score. He begrudgingly taps out a 3-star rating. After all, even homicidal maniacs have performance metrics to meet. The moment the rating is submitted, a system window confirms it. John Cossack is officially his summon. A flash of purple light fills the room, and the assassin appears with a crisp salute and a disturbingly cheerful grin. He's thrilled with his 3-star review, thanking Juhok and promising to work even harder next time, like a waiter who just got a decent tip. Juhok is stunned. This guy looks less like a ruthless killer and more like an overeager puppy. Mustering his courage, Juhok asks about the men from yesterday. Cossack cheerfully confirms their fate, saying he took care of them. The happy-go-lucky vibe vanishes instantly, replaced by a chilling realization. Juhok stares in horror, finally understanding that he's trapped in his tiny apartment with a genuine, smiling murderer. Juhok's stomach churns as he tries to reason with his panic. Surely his own personal assassin wouldn't target him, right? He stammers, asking how Cossack even found the men's office. The assassin cheerfully explains that he planted a tracking mark on them during their little home invasion. Cossack then justifies his work, calling the loan sharks a risk factor, and his solution a reasonable judgment. Juhok internally screams that this is just psycho-logic. He apologizes out loud, but Cossack just shrugs, casually saying he's been called that plenty of times. Realizing he's not getting through to his summon, Juhok watches in disbelief as the assassin suddenly drops to his knees and apologizes. Juhok tries to explain that freelance, problem-solving, is not helpful and could get him in big trouble. Cossack just shrugs it off, casually saying he can't promise it won't happen again. The conversation is going nowhere. Juhok clenches his fist, knowing this is his chance to change his life. But as the image of the tower looms in his mind, he admits the truth: he's completely terrified. Juhok's mind flashes to the dangerous monsters inside the towers, cementing his fear of an early grave. Trying to change the subject, he asks Cossack about any previous summoners. The assassin calmly confirms he's had others strong and brave people. This only makes Juhok feel more pathetic, and he admits he doesn't have the courage to risk his life. To his utter shock, Cossack's face breaks into a massive, disturbing grin. He declares that bravery is poison. Apparently, a cowardly master who avoids danger is a master who stays alive, and that's just good business. With a grin that could curdle milk, Cossack promises to handle all the dirty work. Juhok's only job, he explains, is to stay safe and live a long, profitable life. Despite this bizarre reassurance, our boy couldn't sleep a wink. He spent the entire night agonizing over whether to climb the tower. In the end, he decides he just isn't built for that hero life. He'll just be thankful the debt collectors are gone and stick to safe, ordinary work. He stretches, ready to embrace his boring, monster-free future. Juhok's grand plan for a safe, monster-free life lasts about 5 minutes. Just as he's basking in his decision to stay boring, his phone buzzes. It's his dad, who casually drops a bombshell: his mom got fired, and they might need to move hospitals. His father tries to downplay the crisis, but the damage is done. The reality of his family's money problems comes crashing down. After hanging up, our boy is completely shaken. At his next part-time job, he's armed with a baseball bat, looking like he expects a goblin to jump out from behind the boxes. Clad in his best construction site safety gear, Juhok tries to hype himself up. He'll just take a quick peek at the first floor and bail if it gets sketchy. He briefly considers summoning someone less intense, but the ever-creepy Cossack appears out of thin air. With a smile, he disarms our boy of his wet floor sign shield and bat. Cossack promises to be his loyal, hunting dog, giving him one simple rule: don't lift a finger. With a nervous nod, a prompt to enter the tower appears. With a flash of digital light, Ju-Hawk gets zapped into the tower. He materializes in a desolate wasteland, protected by a glowing hexagonal barrier. The brutal reality sinks in. This is it. He's really inside. Unfortunately, the grand entrance immediately makes him sick. As Ju-Hawk tries not to lose his lunch, Cossack looks absolutely thrilled. He cheerfully announces it's time to venture beyond the safe zone. Our hero can only clutch his stomach and adjust his helmet, following his way to happy bodyguard into the unknown. A strange energy floods Ju-Hawk's body. So this is what it feels like to be a player. Even at level 1, he can tell he's way stronger. A mission window pops up, demanding he take down fat grubs with tough skin, within 2 hours. The penalty for failure, just death, no big deal. Thankfully, his pre-tower research confirmed these things are basically glorified training dummies. They can't fight back, but their skin is super tough. Deciding to test the waters, Ju-Hawk cautiously approaches one of the giant grubs. So much for a harmless training dummy. The giant grub suddenly rears up, revealing some gnarly-looking jaws and glowing like a nuclear-powered nightlight. Ju-Hawk's brief moment of courage evaporates instantly. He completely forgets his new powers and immediately screams for his bodyguard. Like a genie from a bottle, Cossack appears in a flash. Before the grub can even lunge, he unleashes a lightning-fast strike, turning the monster into a messy green splash on the floor. Mission progress 1 down, 4 to go. Ju-Hawk starts to ask his bodyguard to wait, but the request dies on his lips. Cossack is already having the time of his life. With a wild grin, his hands erupt in glowing blue claws. He becomes a lightning-fast blur, zipping between the remaining grubs and unleashing a flurry of devastating slashes. In a split second, all the monsters are reduced to sliced-up chunks. Ju-Hawk just stands there, completely shell-shocked by the display. He can only whisper wow as the last monster's remains dissolve into blue digital light. A flurry of notifications pops up, congratulating Ju-Hawk on his success. He leveled up and got 100 magic stones. But the real kicker, he somehow scored an S++ rating, a ridiculously high achievement. Our boy, who did absolutely nothing, is now dreaming of getting rich from this super easy mission. He's completely clueless that his little achievement just pinged every important awakened individual in Korea. Government agents, guild masters, and top players all stop as an alert about this unknown prodigy flashes before their eyes. He's officially on the radar. The instant the fight is over, Ju-Hawk is zapped back into his tiny apartment, looking a little worse for wear. Cossack gives him a pat on the back for all his hard work. Our boy, bless his heart, admits he did absolutely nothing. He marvels at how simple the mission was, completely unaware that most beginners barely survive it. While the rest of the world is obsessed with tower news and market prices, Ju-Hawk is just thrilled he made a quick 50,000 won in 3 minutes. What a visionary. To celebrate their big win, Ju-Hawk orders a feast of pork trotters. The mighty warrior Cossack immediately gets suspicious, sniffing the air for any hint of danger, or in this case, spice. Ju-Hawk has to reassure the big baby that he ordered the non-spicy version. While they eat, our boy asks why Cossack talks like a historical drama character. He explains it's a habit from his old summoner. This sets off a tiny alarm bell in Ju-Hawk's head, but Cossack, mouthful, insists it's nothing dangerous. The next morning, Ju-Hawk unveils his brilliant, life-altering strategy. He's created a chart called A Real Man's Daily Routine, deciding to ditch his miserable part-time jobs. His genius new plan: just go home every day and conquer the tower with Cossack. Truly a visionary. As he mulls this over, Cossack appears with a big "You-G-Rad" notification. He smugly explains that Ju-Hawk's high rating comes with benefits like a longer summon time and rank promotions. A light bulb finally goes off in our boy's head that S++ rating is actually useful. With his grand new life plan in place, Ju-Hawk and Cossack are zapped to the 2nd floor. A mission window pops up. Defeat 10 fat grubs. Sounds simple enough until the supposedly fat grubs start zipping past him at insane speeds. Ju-Hawk, bless his heart, just stands there completely lost. Sensing his master is about as useful as a screen door on a submarine, Cossack promises to end it quickly. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Ju-Hawk can only watch as Cossack unleashes a storm of energy, taking care of the entire problem himself. With the 2nd floor cleared in record time, Ju-Hawk is showered with rewards and realizes this is way more efficient than his dead-end jobs. Cossack, however, is just getting started, single-handedly blazing through floors 3, 4, and 5. While Cossack does all the heavy lifting, Ju-Hawk just stands there collecting notifications for mission success and flashy S++ ratings. After another clear, a special window appears. The real prize: he can now have more than one summon at a time. He reflects that with John Cossack already doing all the heavy lifting, a second summon would make him practically invincible. His excitement fizzles out, however, when he sees the random summon skill has a cooldown of over 20 days. Elsewhere, the mood is far more serious at the Korean Awakened Management Agency headquarters, where some important people are having a very quiet meeting. At the Awakened Management Agency, team leader Jeon Kwang-il is deep in thought, wondering when the next global announcement will hit. His thoughts are interrupted when manager Lee Min-ah casually sneaks up and startles him. After he finishes freaking out, the conversation turns serious. One person has cleared 5 floors in a row with S+ ratings, a talent unlike any seen before. The director, Park Kung-soo, slams his hand on the table, emphasizing that Korea's previous best was only an A rank. This newcomer single-handedly revealed a whole new tier of power to the world. At the agency, director Park Kung-soo is losing his mind. He explains that top players are being poached or even secretly abducted by other nations. He orders his team to find this new S+ powerhouse before someone else does. Meanwhile, life couldn't be better for Bong Joon-hak. His demonic butler, Cossack, happily finishes washing the dishes before they head to the 8th floor. Their mission: defeat 10 frog warriors. Before Joon-hak can process the objective, Cossack's tongue lashes out, instantly taking down the first monster. With a few graceful swoops of his blades, Cossack turns the entire floor of frog warriors into green confetti. Before Joon-hak can even process the fight, a flood of notifications announces another S+ rank clear. Cossack congratulates his master on a job well done, while Joon-hak internally admits he did absolutely nothing. Feeling generous, he offers his demonic butler some cash for a night out, but Cossack bluntly refuses. He'd much rather they just order some chicken, a suggestion our hero happily accepts. 10 days in, and our hero Bong Joon-hak is already fantasizing about early retirement. Turns out, having a demonic butler do all the work is pretty profitable. He's already stacked up 1.8 million won in magic stones without breaking a sweat. The 9th floor's man-eating flowers barely lasted a second against Cossack. Grateful for the free ride, Joon-hak gives his butler a 5-star rating, which hilariously extends Cossack's summon time. As they enter the 10th floor, the system finally decides Joon-hak should probably do something and unlocks his own abilities. As they hit the 10th floor, Joon-hak feels his body recalibrating. A massive surge of strength and mana courses through him, and for the first time, he feels like a real awakened. Puffed up with this newfound confidence, he tells Cossack he's finally ready to fight. His demonic butler nearly has a panic attack, swearing he'd bash his own head in if his master got a single scratch. But before they can argue, the floor's boss appears, a praying mantis the size of a skyscraper. Joon-hak immediately rethinks his heroic ambitions. Joon-hak's heroic ambitions lasted all of 5 seconds. Faced with a bug the size of an office building, our hero immediately remembers his true calling: moral support. While he offers some enthusiastic cheers from the sidelines, Cossack gets to work. The mantis brings down its massive blades, but the demonic butler just sidesteps the attack like it's a casual dance move. With a blur of slashes, Cossack turns the giant insect into green confetti. Before the pieces even hit the ground, the mission complete sign flashes. So much for Joon-hak's big debut. Back in his apartment, the system dangles a new carrot in front of Joon-hak. Since he aced all 10 floors, he gets a special privilege: the ability to copy one of his summon skills. A massive list of Cossack's deadly moves appears, and our hero is practically drooling. Before he can pick something flashy, Cossack cuts in, insisting he learn Shadow Step. Joon-hak is genuinely offended, asking if his butler sees him as the type of guy who would just run away. The lack of self-awareness is staggering. With the intensity of a drill sergeant, Cossack lectures Joon-hak that good footwork is the key to any fight. Our hero looks less than thrilled but gives Shadow Step a try anyway, zipping across his tiny apartment in a blur. Realizing his demonic butler might have a point, he works up the nerve for his next move. Blushing and stammering, he phones the Awakened Management Agency to announce his new status. The cheerful operator offers a home visit, and Joon-hak agrees, making the most important decision of his 25-year life. Meanwhile, at the Awakened Management Agency, things are getting serious. Team leader Jeon Kwang-il tells his subordinate, Lee Min-ah, that they must recruit this new applicant, even if they have to offer him the best perks imaginable. While they anticipate meeting some legendary warrior, our hero Joon-hak is furiously scrubbing his floor, panicking about his messy apartment. The doorbell rings, and he opens it to find the 2 agents. Before Kwang-il can finish his introduction, Min-ah gets right up in Joon-hak's personal space. Our boy is blushing hard as she whispers the confirmation. S+ manager Min-ah wastes no time, getting right up in Joon-hak's personal space and confirming his identity as the S+ ranker. Our hero, who probably hasn't been this close to an attractive woman in his entire life, completely malfunctions. His brain scrambles for a brilliant strategy: deny everything. He puts on his best, "I'm just a normal guy" act, which looks more like a malfunctioning robot. He awkwardly stammers that he's heard of awakened people, but insists it couldn't possibly be him. Because that's super believable. To get him up to speed, the agents give Ju-Hawk the rundown on these towers. They're basically giant video games where players get super powerful and clear floors. The rewards are so good they actually boost the world's economy. But there's a nasty catch. If nobody makes progress for 6 months, a countdown starts. When that timer hits 0, the tower collapses, taking the entire city with it. It's exactly how Mumbai got wiped off the map 3 years ago. So yeah, no pressure. Gwang-il continues his presentation, explaining that while every nation has towers, Korea luckily only has one. He assures Ju-Hawk they're doing great, having cleared 65 floors, just one shy of the US. After a cheesy recruitment pitch straight out of a corny commercial, the orientation finally ends. Gwang-il then gets down to business, asking for verification. Ju-Hawk confirms he's awakened, and even dumps a pile of mana crystals on the table as proof. When asked how far he's climbed, Ju-Hawk calmly reveals he has reached the 10th floor. Gwang-il tells Ju-Hawk to relax, but he's clearly not buying the "I'm just a normal dude" act. Our hero's nervous twitching and robotic thumbs-up scream suspicion. The agent decides to move on, explaining the two types of players. There's the general team, who are basically freelancers, and the elite team, who work with the agency. Elites get the tough assignments on higher floors, but are rewarded with funding, top-tier gear, and even security detail. Just as Gwang-il gets to the juicy part about the salary, Ju-Hawk starts panicking, positive he's doomed. Ju-Hawk's anxiety immediately goes into overdrive. His worst nightmare isn't a tower monster, but a press conference where reporters ask if it's true he has no friends. Snapping back to the present, he abruptly cuts Gwang-il off. Forget the elite team, he'll stick with being a freelancer. The agent is stunned, trying to tempt him with benefits, but Ju-Hawk isn't having it. Wringing his hands, he explains his brilliant plan: climb to a safe floor, take the rewards, and live a quiet life. Who needs glory when you have crippling social anxiety? Ju-Hawk shuts down any further discussion, declaring his decision is final. The manager, Lee Min-ah, is completely unimpressed, thinking he's just another false lead. While plenty of players farm mid-floors for easy loot, she's never seen someone so openly pathetic about it. Gwang-il, still fishing for info, suggests our hero do a quick run so his daily entry isn't wasted. Ju-Hawk instantly realizes it's a test to confirm his skills. Playing along, he agrees, warning them it might take 2 hours. Min-ah smiles sweetly, assuring him they have time. Back in the office, Gwang-il asks Min-ah for her professional opinion. She's thoroughly unimpressed, calling our boy timid and predicting he'll tap out on the 11th floor, which is designed to test a player's fear. Convinced it's another dead end, Gwang-il decides to call the director. Meanwhile, Ju-Hawk begins a summoning and a dude named John Cossack materializes. John instantly gets the picture this whole test is just to prove Ju-Hawk isn't the real record holder. With a dramatic salute, he enthusiastically confirms he's on board with the plan. Ju-Hawk grins, proud of his genius plan to throw the test with a sloppy run. A messy record is the perfect way to get those annoying S-rank hunters off his back for good. His celebration is cut short, however, when he realizes he's standing on a giant, terrifying bug. As more monsters swarm him, our hero's brain promptly shuts down. Frozen in fear, he can only watch them close in. Just as he's about to become bug food, John Cossack dives in, telling his summoner that he'll handle it. John Cossack absolutely loses it, furious that some creepy crawlies dare to touch his master. He unleashes a flashy whirlwind of blades, turning the entire monster swarm into confetti in seconds. Ju-Hawk's genius plan to fail the test is officially up in smoke. He desperately screams for John to slow down, even trying to pull rank and order him to hold back. But the loyal summon completely ignores him, declaring his master's safety is the top priority. Back in the office, Min-ah glances at the clock. 5 minutes. Well, so much for that 2-hour estimate. Just as Gwang-il and Min-ah are processing the 5-minute clear time, a new alert flashes on screen: S++ rank. And as if on cue, Ju-Hawk teleports right back into the room. Gwang-il's brain short-circuits, realizing the kid re-entered the tower and instantly set a new record. With his cover completely blown, Ju-Hawk drops the act. He sighs that he really didn't want to resort to this. A dark aura flares around him as he declares his 2 spectators will now have to be silenced. He summons a new helper to restrain them, but gets way more than he bargained for. Out pops a creepy girl who cheerfully asks if she should just permanently silence them. Our hero's menacing act instantly evaporates into pure panic. He frantically backpedals, screaming that he only wanted them tied up, not sent on a permanent vacation. Turns out, managing your homicidal summons is the real S++ rank challenge. His tough guy routine is officially dead. After his spectacular failure at playing the villain, Ju-Hawk's body finally catches up to his brain. He breaks out in a cold sweat and collapses, frantically apologizing and blaming his little threat on a persecution complex. Gwang-il, completely unfazed by the excuse, gets right back to business. He repeats that their elite team absolutely needs a talent like him. Ju-hawk immediately denies everything, insisting the S++ record was just a crazy coincidence. Gwang-il isn't buying it, but he moves on anyway, dramatically presenting the legendary elite contract, stunning our boy into silence. Gwang-il whips out the Ultra Elite contract, which is less of a job offer and more of a become a king starter pack. The perks are ridiculous: a huge salary, free real estate, and even legal immunity. This is the VIP treatment reserved for Korea's #1 player. Any sane person would be drooling over this deal, but our boy isn't sane. He promptly freaks out and rejects the offer, leaving the agents totally baffled. Turns out, Ju-hawk's crippling social anxiety is his true ultimate power, making him allergic to this kind of pressure. Gwang-il and Min-ah are officially stumped. They realize our hero's ultimate power isn't summoning monsters, it's his crippling social anxiety. Deciding it's better to retreat for now, they give him space. Ju-hawk knows he looks insane for rejecting the deal, but that contract is a one-way trip to the top with no escape clause. He just wants a comfy life, not the world on his shoulders. Later, Director Park is baffled, asking how the timid, unmotivated player he was told about is suddenly an S++ ranker. Gwang-il simply confirms it's all true. Director Park can't believe it, recalling how Ju-hawk was the textbook definition of a timid nobody. But Gwang-il is convinced, so the director makes up his mind the boy is joining the elite team, period. Meanwhile, Ju-hawk is at home, throwing a fake tantrum and screaming his refusal to an empty room. His dramatic performance is interrupted by the sudden appearance of John Cossack, a glowing, armored stranger. Before Ju-hawk can process being caught, Cossack teleports them both straight to the tower's 12th floor for a surprise mission. John Cossack is pleased with Ju-hawk's surprisingly cooperative attitude, thinking he can trust him. His master plan is to clear the 12th floor normally so the management office loses interest. But there's one small problem: they're in a frozen wasteland, and Ju-hawk is turning blue. Seeing our hero shiver, Cossack goes into a complete panic. He screams that a cold is basically a death sentence for a summoner and vows to end this immediately. Before Ju-hawk can tell him to calm down, Cossack unleashes a massive ice assault as a new skill activates. Thanks to Cossack's over-the-top attack, Ju-hawk gets an S++ rank for the 12th floor, sending the management agency into a full-blown meltdown. Back in the tower, Cossack tells a now warm Ju-hawk to relax. But when our hero says he'll just watch some TV, the knight unsummons his armor and yanks him straight to the 13th floor. It's a hallway full of traps, and Cossack's genius plan is to grab Ju-hawk and sprint through, using him as a human battering ram. You know, for safety. After being used as a human battering ram, Ju-hawk gets yet another S++ rank for the 13th floor. On the next level, Cossack spots a swarm of bats and immediately decides they're a massive threat to his precious master. Before Ju-hawk can even blink, the knight unleashes a spectacular light show, obliterating everything. Another insane rank notification pops up, and our hero just accepts his fate. Back home, he checks his earnings and almost has a heart attack. He's made more in 2 weeks than he ever dreamed of. Cossack tells Ju-hawk the plan has changed: go all out from now on. The whole lay low strategy is officially in the dumpster. Ju-hawk surprisingly agrees. The management agency is already on to them, so why bother? Plus, another S++ rank would mean another perk, and our boy is getting greedy for safety upgrades. Fired up, they enter the 15th floor, a forest crawling with goblin workers. While Ju-hawk worries about these new humanoid monsters, Cossack just smirks and vows to wipe them all out in a single move. Peeking from behind a tree, Ju-hawk watches Cossack activate a stealth skill and immediately gets skill envy. In a flash of blue energy, the knight zips through the forest. The goblins are completely blindsided, falling apart before they can even process the attack. It's total overkill. As expected, a flood of notifications announces another S++ rank and a shiny new owner emblem. Back home, Ju-hawk checks his rewards. His 15 badges have unlocked a new perk skill copy. A very greedy smirk spreads across his face as he realizes the possibilities. All that hard work, or rather, watching Cossack do all the hard work, finally pays off. Ju-hawk's 15 platinum badges unlock a new reward and energy shield kit. It's a fancy gold bracelet that generates a personal force field, basically turning his tracksuit into full body armor. The best part, no tower-exclusive label. His eyes turn into dollar signs as he imagines selling it for billions and retiring to a private island. But Cossack, in between bites of chicken, reminds him to keep his head in the game, since another S++ rank isn't guaranteed. Meanwhile, over at the management agency, the bigwigs are losing their minds. Team leader Gwang-il reports that their mysterious golden goose, Ju-hawk, appears to be stuck on the 15th floor. Director Park Kang-soo slams his fist on the desk, furious that such incredible talent is being wasted on a timid player. But Gwang-il corrects him with a bombshell. Ju-hawk isn't stuck, he's just farming for loot and cash. To top it off, he's on his way to their office right now. The director looks utterly flabbergasted by the kid's sheer audacity. Director Park slams his desk, realizing he almost fumbled the biggest bag in history. With their golden goose on the way, his new plan is to spoil the kid rotten. He orders his staff to give Ju-hawk whatever he wants at a discount. 15 days earlier, we see the source of all this chaos. To test his new energy shield, Ju-hawk makes a totally normal request. He asks Cossack to poke him with a dagger. The big, tough hunter looks like he's about to have a heart attack, but Ju-hawk insists. Utterly panicked, Cossack resorts to the oldest trick in the book, pretending he's suddenly gone deaf. Despite Cossack's hesitation, Ju-hawk insists, but our hero forgets the most important step, actually activating the shield. The resulting poke sends Cossack into a full-blown panic, who dramatically offers to sever his own arm as penance. Ju-hawk, completely unbothered, just chugs a healing potion. After a stern warning from Cossack to never do that again, Ju-hawk dismisses him to finish the hunt. While Cossack efficiently clears the forest, Ju-hawk uses the downtime to practice a new skill he picked up, Shadow Step. With Cossack busy clearing the area, Ju-hawk practices his new skill, zipping around the forest like a blue firefly on an energy drink binge. He finally gets why Cossack insisted he learn this first. It's insanely fast. He teleports in front of a lone goblin, ready for a fight, but the little monster just shrieks and scrambles up a tree. Ju-hawk assumes it's hiding from the real hunter. But then it dawns on him the goblin is terrified of him. This realization triggers a full-on villainous power-up, complete with a menacing purple aura. The goblin, basking in Ju-hawk's new villainous glow, completely loses its mind. It lets out a piercing shriek, but before Ju-hawk can even land his spectacularly clumsy kick, the monster just pops, vanishing into a puff of purple mist. The scream is so loud that Cossack comes sliding in, clutching his ears and frantically asking if Ju-hawk is all right. Turns out, after 2 weeks of grinding like this, our hero is more than okay. He's gotten used to his skills and has collected a small fortune in mana stones, ready to cash in. Now sitting on a mountain of mana stones, Ju-hawk calls the agency to sell his loot. He's immediately flustered when they offer to send staff, probably because his apartment is the size of a closet. But they insist it's a standard perk, and before he knows it, a limo that could double as a yacht pulls up. Team leader Jian Gwang-il greets him personally, welcoming him to the bureau. Our hero is clearly not used to the VIP treatment. After a quick-hand scan for future access, his upgrade from broke loser is almost complete. Gwang-il offers to guide Ju-hawk through the exclusive player shop, but our boy awkwardly refuses. He's too busy having a minor panic attack over the sky-high price tags. Deciding to cash in his loot first, he's told his mana stones are worth a staggering 11.25 million. After confirming he can spend it immediately, Ju-hawk preps for a stressful shopping spree. Meanwhile, upstairs, Director Park gets an update. Team leader Gwang-il has closed the entire shop just for him. Nothing says, "You're special," like kicking every other player out. Director Park notes that a timid guy like Ju-hawk might find freebies burdensome. Pleased with his team's work, back in his private shopping dimension, Ju-hawk models an adamant mace and some basilisk leather walkers. The price tags make his wallet cry, especially when he learns this is the cheap stuff. He has a brief internal crisis over spending so much, but decides the cute boots are a justified reward for his hard work. He tells himself not to get greedy, but the tempting look on his face suggests he's already planning his next score. Back in his glorified closet of an apartment, Ju-hawk gets acquainted with his summoned warrior, John Corsack. John politely asks if they're repeating the 15th mission, but our boy is ready to level up. Just as they plan for the 16th, Ju-hawk realizes his summoned skill is off cooldown. Feeling lucky, he decides to roll the dice again, praying to every deity he can name for a good pull. He unleashes a random summon, and a massive blast of purple energy erupts, threatening to vaporize his entire room. He can only stare, wondering what he just unleashed.